It seems Valve keeps getting in more and more trouble as time goes on. If you don't know who Valve is a company that basically controls a lot of the PC market for gaming. Not the entire thing, but it is who controls Steam and who has also made a lot of games that are loved by a lot of people, like TF2, CSGO, and now Deadlock. And if you don't know what I mean by in trouble, it's not that Valve is doing anything wrong, it's actually the complete opposite, where companies hate Valve so much because they hate that Valve is successful on so many layers to the point where they have billions of dollars because people actually like their company. They like their customer support, they like their games, and they overall just like them because they're probably the most consumer friendly company out there currently when it comes to overall gaming content or PC content. And because of this, they are getting sued for a lot of different things. And it kind of is seeming a little fishy because you see, none of these lawsuits came up before. They never came up before they started dipping their toes into the console system market. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically, Valve is trying to create something called the Steam Machine. Now, the Steam Machine is essentially a Xbox that's slimmed down, runs better, and you will be able to play every single game that is on Steam. Not only is there a controller that kind of mimics a Xbox controller a little bit, but there's also a full VR headset that is really, really cool. I mean, just imagine this, right? You're sitting there and you're playing video games, but maybe you're getting tired of sitting in your chair, like most people do. So you decide to throw on your VR headset and you just lay in bed and you project it up to the ceiling so that way you can still see your video game on a massive screen and play with your controller instead of having to use a keyboard and mouse. And a lot of people, obviously, this is going to be amazing for certain competitive games that are kind of required for you to have a keyboard and mouse. But this is going to be really good for solo games, which is still the main market of most gamers to this day. Is solo games and every solo game that you can think of. Not only that, but it also breaks into that category of being a family console. Something that the Nintendo Switch has done, the Xbox has done, and the PlayStation as well, where you can set it down and you can play on a screen with you and your loved ones. Or in this case, if you have the VR headset, you could play on the VR headset, and then your friend or your family member could basically play on the TV at the same time, and you can play split screen. It's really, really cool. I definitely recommend going and watching a video if you want more details about it. But ever since this has come out, they have faced lawsuit after lawsuit after issue after issue. Now, it's not out yet, but I'm just saying ever since they announced it, right? So the first thing that happened was overseas in the UK. The UK, I don't remember the exact thing, but the UK is basically trying to sue them, saying that they have a a market, basically that they have a I'm blanking the name, sorry, but they own all PC games is the best way to put it. Sorry that I'm blanking the word right now, but anybody that's ever played PC knows this isn't true, right? A monopoly, that's what it's called. So basically, they are saying that they have a monopoly over it, which just isn't true because you can play on BattleNet, you can play on EA. I mean, you can play on some like bootleg websites. The thing is there's just no competition. Like that's the thing. Like nobody's doing it the way that Valve is doing it. And video is a little bit of glaze, but all respect to them. Every person I've ever known that's had a problem while playing a Steam game has had it fixed. The only way you don't have it fixed is if you were just doing something nefarious in the first place, and they don't even want to be associated with it. And then when people start giving the UK backlash for essentially suing them for this, for them having a monopoly, here came another lawsuit. About a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, someone in New York basically said that Valve was promoting online gambling to children and they should be sued for it because of the things in their games, like CS:GO cases, or being able to spin loot tables and things of that sort. Things that you already do in real life if you play Pokemon, if you've played Overwatch. I mean, even if you've played Apex Legends, loot boxes have been around for a very, very long time. I think even if I remember correctly, even PUBG had loot boxes at one point because of how much people just love loot boxes, right? Because loot boxes, in reality, yes, it is gambling, 100%. I think everybody should just statistically say it is gambling. But it's probably the most ethical way of gambling that there is. Because most of the time, a loot box is something you earn in game. Now, in Valve's situation, you can buy them as well, but you can also earn them, right? You're not forcing anybody to gamble. You're not trying to bend someone's arm to gamble. You're just saying, hey, if you want some cool stuff, you can spin on it, you know? And I do think maybe there's a level of like, I mean, like, let's say Oni Pixel, right? Oni Pixel, hilarious streamer, but he is probably the best example that somebody could give for somebody basically being addicted to the gambling of cases. They're not going to use him as a argument. Just frankly, they're not. And if you ever ask him if he's addicted to gambling or something like that, he's going to say no. That he just does it for the love of the game, which is basically facts, right? Like let's be honest. No one cares, Ben. It's just so silly that it's even a thing that it makes absolutely no sense. Like, oh no, my son, he bought a loot box. He earned a loot box in the game and asked me for a key. It's like, yeah, that is how it works, but for a very long time, that's the only way that it worked. You would get the item, you'd open a loot box, you'd get the item, and even if you would trade, real life real life money trading was pretty far out there for a very, very long time. That's actually why they developed it into Steam. So you would basically trade it back to Steam, get Steam money, spend it on a video game, essentially. That's why it's still slight. Now they don't enforce it 100%, but it's still slightly looked down upon, even to go out of your way to sell the skin. But people still do it because, and they know people do it because they can't stop you. Frankly, they just can't. They can't stop you from adding a guy to your friends list and trading it, and then him giving you money to your PayPal account. There's physically just no way to stop that without just getting rid of trading, which then getting rid of trading would make people gamble more. You know why? Because now the only way to get that item is to gamble, and that'd be the only way. Instead of, oh, hey, I got the money, let me just buy that item from the guy that did gamble. It's like, I just don't think they've thought about the trade offs here. You get rid of trading to reduce gambling. Gambling in the game skyrockets. You get rid of gambling in the game, and you just increase trade prices. That's literally all you end up doing essentially, because then the items that are one of ones, they'll probably just completely remove from the game. I mean, that would be the smart thing, right? You just have people that have the item, and you're just like, oh, congratulations, that item's worth $500,000 real life money now. Some some prince of Persia will buy it. That's actually like a real thing that happens. Like I think Oni, when I was watching an Oni video a couple weeks back, he was telling a story about this kid who a uh, bought like an in-game item for like $250,000 or something like that because of how rare it was. Real life money, by the way. So like you kind of are also messing with people's jobs at the same time, which might sound crazy to some people, but being a CS:GO trader, if you're good at it, it's a full-time job. You're making more than most people in general. You just are. I mean, if Oni, right? Oni used to talk about this where when he was younger, which if you haven't seen Oni Pixel's videos, I do recommend going and watching him. He just basically plays CS:GO and gambles. Not really, but yeah, he talks about it where like when he was a kid, he would like have the statistics and everything basically known, and then he would trade up, and then he would trade to people, and then like make money from it. Like he would, you can make hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if you're insane at it. It's actually nuts. And then we go into the new thing, right? Where I'm sure everybody at this point knows that RAM in general is has gone up in price, and computers have gone up in price in turn because of that. And RAM is insanely hard to find. And of course, you need RAM to play games in general. So Valve can't make the Steam machine because there's no RAM. Remember, this video is about how Valve is just getting the short end of the stick essentially the entire time. They're trying to make gaming more fun. They're actually trying to bring the community together more. But no, 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 no. Instead, they can't find RAM. And it's so bad that they can't find RAM that they're basically trying to ask their viewers and stuff like that if they know where they could buy more RAM. That's what this article is about. You can pause and read if you like, but they they're just trying so hard to like actually make a fun, enjoyable experience for people, and it's sad to just see these companies trying to tear them down. I am a super mega glazer for Valve. I love all their games. I love their system. I love their Steam. I'm probably even gonna buy the Steam machine. Just 100% honest because I think this is the next step in casual gaming. And that might sound weird, but I think PlayStation and Xbox have been going out the door for a very long time now. I mean, for Xbox to even keep up at this current point in time and a PS5, they've had to essentially start developing into almost a PC themselves. I mean, what's the next step after an Xbox X, right? It's a computer. Just frankly, like the Xbox X is on par with probably an $800 computer, maybe even $1,000 computer. So the next step in the process would literally just be making it a computer at that point, which is the only way they could upgrade unless computer parts and overall machine parts just get way, way, way more advanced like they have been, which it could. But then it's like, at what point is it no longer a casual price point? I think, right? Because when the PS5 came out, when the Xbox X came out, it was $1,000 to get it for the first year. Both of them were like $1,000 to $1,500, and you almost had to buy it from a scalper, well, like almost guaranteed. So, what price range would the next console be at? Like, would you buy a console right now, for example, for $1,500? Would you buy a console right now for $2,000? Would you buy a console for $3,000? And I think that's the question that Xbox and PlayStation are going to have to ask. I saw that a lot of stuff on Xbox is shutting down, or maybe Xbox is shutting down. I don't know. I haven't looked fully into that, so I can't speak on that. But I am a firm believer that once the Steam machine comes out, it's going to be nearly impossible for either console to even touch the Steam machine. Not only because the performance is going to be basically the same or maybe even better than both of the consoles, but at the same time, you're going to have the ability to do VR. You're going to have the ability to basically play every single game you already play. You're going to have the ability to cross save most of your stuff. I mean, a lot of people don't even realize this, but if you already play Xbox and then you're transferring over to a computer like the Steam machine, because the Steam machine is just a tiny computer. Like, I don't want to trick you guys. Yes, it is like it's going to come with Steam and everything pre-downloaded. It's going to be mainly for gaming, but you're still going to be able to search the internet and stuff. It's just a tiny computer. That's all it is. So if it has all of these abilities, what benefit do you get? And to redo my point a little bit, so the Xbox, by the way, most things from Microsoft to PC, as long as it's Windows 10, will transfer over. I mean, I got like Minecraft for free. I got like Sea of Thieves for free. If you have Xbox Game Pass, you get a bunch of free games. Yeah, for free. And they're different from PC to console. Usually, PC has more. The hardest part about PC, and I will say this, if you are someone who's transferring over from one to the other, I would use a controller on games where it's easy to use controller on, but try to learn keyboard mouse. I know it's a learning curve. I know it feels weird, but I've also noticed that my skill level went from like maybe slightly above average in most games to like up here when I actually started learning keyboard mouse. the difference was massive. So if you're a mid level player like how I was on console, where it's just like okay, I'm okay, you know, you'll probably shoot up like pretty high, at least in my opinion, as long as you want to, in most games. But that's all I want to talk about today was the Steam Machine, what's going on with it, what their lawsuits around Valve and Steam, and thanks guys for watching. Peace.